So redemption through sin doesn't fall nicely into this story that we're taught at the university about history and events and how they may or may not relate to each other. Here are some of the authors that I'm going to be drawing upon when I consider the idea of redemption through sin as a doctrine and how it's affecting the world today and even our own bodies, minds, and spirits. At an oligarchical history, in relation to biopolitics of control in conjunction with esoteric eschatology. So let's look again at Michael Foucault. He's going to address essentially in his body of work the relationship between power and knowledge and how they're used as a form of social control. He's not talking about the left and the right. He's looking about institutions and deep levels of control embedded or encoded in institutions themselves. So biopower for Foucault is managing humans, entire populations through institutions and their discipline. And embedded in that idea, when he says discipline, is what we would call mind control. Okay. So he's an actual philosopher of note in the late 20th century who's going to look precisely at this issue that we're trying to suss out what's going on in the world today. So, in short, he's examining the actual strategies and mechanisms that control human life, entire populations under regimes of authority, regimes that control the knowledge base, school, media, etc. He goes, it works something like this. It's sort of mysterious, and that's why I go deeper into an esoteric reading of Foucault. Initially, it's imposed from outside. It becomes internalized. However, the source of power remains elusive to current research methods of social science and humanities. Why? Because they're looking at accidental history that's one damn thing after another. It has no purpose or teleos. And they're not looking at the actual agents that put these things into place. So it's elusive, escapes their research methods because they're bound by this accidental view of history where you cannot discuss esoteric eschatologies. So modern power becomes encoded into the social practices and human behavior. How? How is this modern body, mind, spirit control done? Through gradual acquiescence. And don't we see that around us all the time, whether we're talking about the constitutions of our individual nations and the protections that we're purported to have be deteriorating around us. And each time we just acquiesce. What do we acquiesce in the name of? Personal security. This is biopolitics. In the name of protecting us, a reversal is happening. We're subjugated through our own securitization. Okay, it's very tricky, this modern biopolitics, but when you lay it out there, at one point you're going to start to visualize it and it's going to become crystal clear to you. It does kind of escape. It's elusive to some of our research methods, but once we find a new lens, it's oh so apparent. To the subtle regulations of the social order, we acquiesce, go along to get along. It makes possible the emergence of the modern nation state and capitalism. So it's still elusive, says Foucault, but it's underneath the very pinning of the modern nation state in the last 400 years with the rise of capitalism. Biopower, it's literally control over bodies, an explosion of numerous and diverse techniques for achieving the subjugation of bodies and control of populations. Well, this doesn't make sense because in democracies, in late liberal capitalistic economies, we're all oh so free. So what is Foucault talking about? Gradual acquiescence. And we see it more clearly, even if you're a young person, just over the last few years, what we're increasingly asked in terms of social parameters to acquiesce to. So this is part of a larger eschatological paradigm that we're going to continue going into. But let me finish with Foucault here. Secrets of Empire. Let's wrap it together. He goes, somehow he doesn't, he said the system has controllers, but he doesn't want to go there. But he's going to say he's going to hide it under the Secrets of Empire. There's an elusive long term project about subjugating human bodies. But what he will say that begins to open the door for the esoteric is that he's going at some time in this story of this transition between power over bodies in the modern world, a biological race arises with modernity, governed by other mechanisms. And this is what I want to go into now. Life becomes a biological account of life. The population, when the population and the term life is born as a science of art. It's the old alchemy is now going to kind of transmogrify itself into modern science and all the disciplines of biology. So the medieval system, of course, we're talking about let live to make die, as defined by the monarch. By contrast, biopolitics makes life live, and therefore must decide who is unfit to live. So if that's slightly obtuse, let's get right down to it. The important question Foucault is asking here is who decides who is fit to unfit? Now, when we're talking about Malthus 200 years ago or mid-century, mid-20th century and first and third world, we kind of let it go. But when it's our bodies, minds, and spirits that somebody's directing their energy on and deciding if we live or die in light of an eschatology that is hell-bent on pushing depopulation, and we've gone over and over and over that when we looked at this genealogy of people involved in everything from eugenics to transhumanism. So what does Foucault say is going on in the world today? He will say, rumbling away beneath political power, the facade of democracy, is a secret, primitive, and permanent war that consists of power relations between social groups. So it's rumbling away. Von Clausewitz would say the same thing in On War. There's never peace. It's always something rumbling away, the planning for the next. But who's planning it? Suggesting that there's planners behind a war. Don't they just happen by accident? Initially, the discourse posted a racial binary. We're talking about the eugenics movement of the 19th and 20th century, where we have differing hierarchies in Asia and South America and regional. But he said at one point in the 19th century, a theory of permanent race struggle who no longer was not seen as a binary anymore, but is recast into the theory of evolutionism, that ancient pantheistic, atomistic religion now is going to be poised as a struggle for existence, no longer a single atomism, but one true race. And this is why I get esoteric. This true race has always been part of this oligarchical class and their esoteric endgame, the creation of this true race, from which certain groups or individuals deviate, the standard by which someone is going to decide who lives and who dies. The discourse does not lend itself, again, to rational investigation.